No, no, no. Nope. No, no. Hey guys, Languagehacker here, and today we've gotten to see all of the new cards in the new mini set Deadmines, which is going to be the mini set for United in Stormwind. So today I'm going to talk about all the cards that have been released so you guys know what to expect when it comes out. Let's dive right in. So we're going to be going through the cards by rarity, which is how they were revealed on social media. They were first shown, we first got shown all the commons and the rares, the one epic and the legendaries, which was shown today. So let's hop right in. Demon Hunter, commons. Need for Greed is a 5-mana spell, tradable. Draw 3 cards. If drawn this turn, this costs 3 instead. Having extra tradables in Demon Hunter, pretty good, especially for Quest Demon Hunter, where you're trying to draw extra cards, and tradable does accomplish that. And on top of that, it costs less. So if you top deck this, you get to probably complete any part of the quest that you're currently on, as long as it's turn 3, 4, 5, ideally, because on turn 2, you obviously can't play it for 3 mana. Pretty good. I like that they specifically capped this and said this costs 3 and not it costs 2 less, because if this was drawn post quest completion after you play Demon Slayer Kurtrus, it would be absolutely ridiculous because it would be discounted by 2 and then discounted by 2 again. So I'm glad that it gets capped at 3, which means that post quest this is still 3 mana, draw 3 even if you draw it this turn, which is nice. I think we don't need to be giving Demon Hunter more card draw. I think this is a little toned down, I think, though, if you compare it to something like Skull. I mean, 3 mana draw 3 is still pretty insane, but in the tool set of Demon Hunter, it's not that much crazier than what is already available. I just don't like that this also has tradable on it, because it makes it good enough to run without anything else on the card. I mean, the upside is obviously that you draw extra cards, but the fact that this is tradable and its card draw is a little excessive, and I don't think we need to give Demon Hunter more card draw, but still, cool card. Cool card. Crow's Nest Lookout, 3 mana, 2/2 demon. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to the left and right most enemy minions. So this is kind of playing on the Outcast theme that they've had, but instead of having it Outcast in hand, it just deals damage to the left and right most minions. This card's strong for a 3 mana, 2/2 body. This does a lot. The problem is, where are we playing this? Arena, question mark? Because we don't really have board-centric Demon Hunter lists. We have Death Rattle Demon Hunter, but I'm not sure we want to run this Death Rattle Demon Hunter, because you'd rather just have a good Death Rattle density and then other power cards. So I don't think this is going to be run unless we are seeing some very tempo-oriented Demon Hunter list come out, and I don't think that's going to be the case. So this might just be set up for a deck in the future that comes out. Cool, though. Next up, Druid. Druid of the Reef. 1 mana, 1/1. Choose one, transform into a 3/1 shark with rush, or a 1/3 turtle with taunt, both of which are beasts. This is a very good card. This is probably going to immediately be added to taunt aggro druid. 1 mana, 1/3, solid, with taunt as well, so protects other minions, for example, a peasant that you might be running in your deck now as well. And it has flexibility later on in the game to have impact as well, because you can change it into 1 mana, deal 3, which is great to deal with any threat on the other side of the board, because generally Taunt Druid does not have reactive tools. Some people are running Park Panther, but it's inefficient. It's inflexible, not inefficient. You have to commit 4 mana to it, so this adds a bit of flexibility. 1 mana, deal 3 to a minion if you need to. So very good card being added for Druid. Hunter. Defias Blastfisher, 5 mana, 3/2 pirates. Battlecry, deal 2 to a random enemy, which means you can go face. Repeat for each of your beasts. So this is another card that lends itself to synergy with having stuff on board and beasts and whatnot. And historically, we've seen this almost every time they try pushing something for Hunter to have it a little bit slower and focus more on value and whatnot. It's just too slow. The effect is powerful. We might be able to make something work with like Rodent's Nest or Rat's Nest, or whatever it's called. The 4 mana 2/2 Death Rattle summons 5 1/1s. But ultimately, it's probably just not better than playing Smork Hunter, Face Hunter. So the effect is actually pretty powerful. It's just, we don't really want that package in Hunter. Next up, Monstrous Parrot, at least right now anyways. 4 mana, 3/4 beast. Battlecry, repeat the last friendly Death Rattle that triggered. So the Death Rattle that previously happened will then be used as a Battlecry for this card. Which again is very powerful, but it's kind of slow. Now we have to be running Death Rattles, and there are Death Rattles that can be run in Hunter, but the problem with death rattles is that they're slow. That's the whole point behind it, right? It's an effect that is generally powerful once it's triggered, which happens after it dies, so not immediately, or even when you attack with it, like you have to wait a turn to get the value from death rattle. And this mitigates some of that, but you already have to have a death rattle minion die for that to happen. Actually, it doesn't have to be a minion. It can technically be anything. It says the last friendly death rattle. But again, it goes along this slow sort of hunter game plan that we don't really want to be doing. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Cool cards though. Like I think these will have some use at some point, but I can't quite envision the hunter deck that would run it right now. Next up, Mage. Gray Sage Parrot, 8 mana, 6/6. Very funny printing 8 mana cards when games end before we get a chance to play them. But sure. Battlecry. Repeat the last spell you've cast that costs 5 or more. So what current Mage spells are we running that cost 5 or more? Absolutely nothing. Some people, I think, are running a Pexus Blast in Spell Mage, but we're not running Gray Sage Parrot in Spell Mage. So what? Flame Strike? Mask of Cthulhu? Grand Finale, I suppose? But that's a really, really slow archetype, so I don't think that's possible. You literally die on this turn against Garrett Rogue and Demon Hunter, and sometimes Pirate Warrior and Shaman. So basically every meta deck will kill before this really hits. So I'll need more support for this. This effect is powerful. It's just in this current meta, it seems a little out of place. Paladin. Sunwing Squawker, 4 mana, 3/4 beast. You'll notice that there's a bit of a theme here. There's a lot of 4 mana, 3/4 parrots that are being released. Battlecry, repeat the last spell you've cast on a friendly minion on this. And it doesn't have to be this turn. So if you played Hand of Adal, a turn or two ago, or if you played Libram of Hope a turn or two ago, or whatever, anything that was cast on a friendly minion will be recast on this. So this is pretty good for specifically Libram Paladin. You might be able to do it in some sort of just buff Paladin as well. I know you're running hand buff type stuff that was still running Hand of Adal and whatnot. And in that deck, this would still be okay. But I imagine this slots a bit more nicely into Libram Paladin. And this doesn't actually fix the issue of Libram Paladin needing early game to actually have a good foothold on the tempo. But this does give you a nice little mid-rangey thing that you can plop down, which is really nice. You can get an extra Libram Wisdom out of this, extra card draw with Hand of Adal. So this is actually really good. It doesn't seem super busted because it's not coming down as like a huge threat. It doesn't have immediate impact, but it's a solid card. And even if it's not run right now, depending on whether or not Libram Paladin will be powerful, I think this will see play. Priest. Amulet of Undying, 3 mana spell, tradable. Resurrect one, and it's a shadow spell. Resurrect one friendly death rattle minion, and when you trade this, it upgrades. So I imagine it goes up to 2, and then if you trade again, it goes up to 3. So this is really cool. This is the first time we're seeing upgrades when traded. We've seen upgrades in the past before when you do specific things like, I don't know, spend mana on spells or heal or gain armor or whatever. So it's kind of cool that you have it now when you trade it because it's building towards, again, a slower game plan, which is excellent in a meta where you're dying on turn 7, 8, or 9. But memes aside, this could even be run in something like some sort of minion-centric Shadow Aggro Priest. We've already seen that kind of be popular earlier this meta, actually, with people running it in tournaments and on in Grandmasters and stuff. It's kind of died down a little bit, but this adds an interesting dynamic to the card Twilight Deceptor, 2 mana, 2/3. When if on this turn either player took damage, draw a shadow spell from your deck, which is really nice when that shadow spell can then also be traded because it counts as like extra card draw after you've already used the 2 Raised Deads. Now that being said, you probably need to run Death Rattle minions to get good use out of this. Otherwise, it's just like a 1 mana cycle card with a Deceptor, which might not be bad. I don't think that by itself is good enough to run, so I think you do need some Death Rattle support, and I don't think there's many Death Rattles you can run. I've seen some people talk about what is that card called? Elwyn Boar, because you could just upgrade this several times and then in one go amulets and then blow up the board and then have this sort of 1,000 truths. So maybe there's a deck that does that, but we'll have to see how consistent that is. This has potential. It might be a little too slow for the meta, but potential is good. Defias Leper, 2 mana, 3/2 pirate, Battlecry. If you're holding a shadow spell, deal 2 damage. Pretty solid. Acceptable stat line, 2-drop, deals 2 damage. This can go face as well, which isn't too bad. There's not a crazy amount of shadow spells that are played in a tempo-like deck. However, that doesn't mean that we can't change what Shadow Priest kind of looks like and add some sort of more spell-heavy stuff. Maybe we start throwing the weapon that's got released, Shadowcloth Needle as well. But I don't think this is enough to really change that landscape. But it is a good tool for that sort of deck. So we'll see if anything develops from this. Rogue, Blackwater Cutlass, tradable. After you trade this, reduce the cost of a spell in your hand by 1. Sorry, this is a weapon. It's a 1 mana 2/2. 1 mana 2/2, already great stats. Can be used in, any rogue deck that wants to control the board early and set up for the game plan. So you might actually see this slot into Garrett Rogue to have either, first of all, even just 1 mana deal 4 damage isn't awful. But more importantly, to help control early boards could be useful. And even without the early board control, the fact that it has tradable and something like a slow matchup is really nice too, because then you can cycle to the more important cards that you want to be using. I don't think this is insane. I don't think we're going to see 2 of these in any deck. Maybe we'll see 1 slot in. And you don't really want in Weapon Rogue because you'd rather just upgrade like the Swine Tusk Shank or the Self-Sharpening Sword. But cool effect. Also nice nice lore from WoW. Blackwater Cutlass was a prominent weapon for low-level characters. Anyways, Shaman, Brilliant Macaw, 3 mana 3/3, Battle Cry, repeat the last Battle Cry you played. So we see another parrot here, and this is, again, does not have to be played this turn. So just whatever previous Battle Cry you played. You can do some combo-y stuff with this, but it comes back to the problem where we're running slow stuff, which isn't necessarily good because the meta is really, really fast. Now, you might say, well, if they're printing enough slow stuff, maybe the meta slows down. Unless there's something shown here in the next, I don't know how many cards we have left, 20, 30 cards, that heavily disrupts Garrett Rogue or Demon Hunter, I don't think we're going to be slowing down the meta at all. So most of the cards so far, even though they have potential, it probably won't change the meta too much. Anyways, powerful effect, not super OP, but nice setup. You can do it over multiple turns. Stat line's fine. Could be interesting. Not sure where you would slot this in. You could maybe throw this into the Elemental Shaman. Elemental Shaman, but this is more likely going to be used in some sort of slowish control, maybe a quest type Shaman. That could be actually really interesting. Set for quest completion, and then you go, wait, would this work with the Shaman quest? I don't think so. No, because Brucon says your spells cast twice, not an extra time. Never mind. That'd be pretty cool if it did work, but I don't think it does. There's applications for this. Be certain about that. It's just too slow. Warlock, Wicked Shipment. 1 mana, tradable spell. Summon 2 1/1 imps. It's basically like a Wolpertinger. Upgrades by 2 when traded. So another upgrade when traded card. So upgrades by 2, I mean, that would imply that it would be 1 mana, summon 4 1/1 imps, which isn't bad. Would we run this as just a 1 mana, summon 2 1/1 imps? Zoo's not quite playable right now. And I don't think a Wolpertinger would change that problem. And I don't think you care about the tradable being upgraded because it's just slower tempo at that point, and Zoo kind of wants fast tempo, not delayed tempo. So, I mean, again, the card's not bad. There's a lot of good, words on it. I just don't think it's really going to be used. If we had some others who support, maybe. Next up, Shadowblade Slinger, 1 mana, 2/1 Pirate, Battle Cry. If you've taken damage this turn, deal that much to an enemy minion. So this is some serious, it's not just quest support, it's Warlock support in general, but this is actually pretty solid. Now, Warlock does have a bunch of removal already with healing and whatnot. You have Touch of Nathrezim, Drain Soul, stuff like that. If you get low enough in your deck, Blood Shard, Bristleback as well, but this adds some more flexibility. 1 mana removal, very, very cheap. There's often turns where you can go Backfire to a full hand where you have 1 mana left over, and you generally give yourself outs to hit stuff like Goldshire Knoll or a Netheron or a Touch of the Nathrezim, and now you have an extra option to do that. Backfire into Shadowblade Slinger is really nice. Really nice option for you to be able to do. And even just tap into this is good, right? Against more aggressive decks where you don't want to use like a full Soul Rend, or you don't have Drain Soul at the moment, or you want to fit in a tap, even if you do have the Drain Soul. Tap into Shadowblade Slinger can be pretty nice. This is nice and flexible. I'm not sure if we have the slots in the deck to run this, but this is absolutely worth trying and seeing if it fits. Very cool card. Warrior, Defias Cannoneer. 3 mana, 3/3 Pirates. After your hero attacks, deal 2 damage to a random enemy twice. And this can also go phase. So this is pretty solid. Not necessarily something you want to be slamming down on 3, because you generally don't have a weapon equipped on turn 3. On turn 4, you can get Outrider's Axe, you can get Sword Eater down, and then you have a weapon. So this is something you could get down on, say, like a turn 5, when you already have a weapon pre-equipped to get value out of it. That being said, you can still just pop it down on 3 if you don't expect much removal, or if you just want to spend mana and progress the quest. This is a very good card. Very solid. Damage, more pirates for quest completion. Very, very good. Next up, Man the Cannons. 2 mana spell. Deal 3 damage to a minion, any minion, and 1 damage to all other minions. So this is kind of like a mini swipe, where you can target your own minions as well. However, again, it's worth noting that the Whirlwind effect happens to your minions as well, so you can get use out of any Enrage effects or Frenzy effects. Pretty good card. I'm not sure how this will slot into Pirate Warrior, because with cards like this, Pirate Warrior could become a bit more tempo/aggressive oriented. We've seen a bit of control lean with the deck lately, coming off of Fury Hunter's win. I believe he was running Pirate Warrior in the recent Masters Tour, and it was a bit more control-y. That being said, you don't want too much removal, because you still want to be able to get the pirate part of the quest done. But the card itself is just solid, and even if it's not being run in pirate decks, this is a good control tool that'll be around for a while. Neutral, final common card. Galaka Glutton. This is a nice little blast from the past. 3 mana, 2/3 pirates. Battlecry, destroy a beast and gain +1/+1. And this is a nice little joke for Galaka Crawler, which used to be a neutral beast, a 2 mana, 2/3, that would eat a pirate and gain +1/+1. So this is funny that they've now gone full circle, and now they have a pirate eating the crab. The effect is actually not bad. So if beasts become prominent enough, and I've mentioned this a lot, there's a lot of parrots being printed. So if the meta does become parrot-oriented, this will actually be playable. But I don't think it will become playable anytime soon, because I think the meta is a little too set in stone right now. And honestly, this kind of card is a little bit toxic, because it's either garbage or it's too good, because the tempo swing you get from this was insane. I'm sure for people who were around back in the day when Galaka Crawler was run, it was just the worst feeling ever when you played a pirate and your opponent played a 2 mana minion that just got bigger and removed all of the tempo that you just gained from whatever you played. So I really hope this isn't going to be good. And twofold, because if it is good, you can run in Pirate Warrior as well, which becomes even worse. So that's kind of scary. But otherwise, kind of a mech card. Meta dependent on beasts, but I don't think beasts are going to be run too much right now. Anyways, pretty cool so far, and these are just the commons. Let's hop into the rares. Demon Hunter Proving Grounds, 6 mana spell, summon 2 minions from your deck, and they fight. And my understanding is that they fight each other, which is really fucking weird. So I don't understand quite how you want to make this work. So you can do some stuff with dormant minions. You can't run just full-on big Demon Hunter, because then your 2 minions will hit each other. You could try running like big demons and small demons, but then it's just a clown fiesta based on like what you get pulled from your deck. So you might have to try to set up something with like dormant stuff, like Imprison Antaean, and I don't even know what else at that point. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Maybe you run like 3 demons in the deck, like 2 Imprison Antaeans, and then an Ildar Inquisitor. I don't know. We'll have to see. This is interesting, and it costs a lot of mana, so it's gonna have to be impactful. There's something you can do with this for sure. I just have not figured it out yet. Next on Druid, Jerry Rig Carpenter, 2 mana, 2 pirate. Battlecry, draw a choose 1 spell and split it. This is pretty solid. Early minion for a slower Druid deck. Draws a card, which is good. Splitting it's a little weird, because let's say Nourish, as example, is one of the only cards that I think we're running right now that has choose 1. You split into a 6 mana draw 3 and a 6 mana gain 2 mana crystals. Individually, those are not very good. Now, if you're playing Anacondra Druid, it doesn't matter, because you're either going to Alignment or Anacondra Germination, and then you can make use out of both copies. But the fact that this tutors choose 1 spells, and even if though you do split it, you can still kind of use it, right? I think Feral Rage might be played at some point as well in Alignment. So there's definitely uses for this. Targeted card draw, and you can still gain the benefit from both halves with the benefits of, Anacondra or Alignment or whatnot. So this is actually a pretty solid card. The deck's going to be hard to build, but I think this will definitely be an interesting addition to that. Moonlit Guidance, 2-mana arcane spell. Discover a copy of a card in your deck. If you play it this turn, draw the original, which is really cool. So it has a Shadow Visions-esque feel to it, where you discover a copy, so you don't actually draw that card. You get an extra copy in your hand. And if you play that copy, you draw the card that you discovered, which is really cool, because it's a good use. If you draw, like, I don't know, Lunar Eclipse, for example. Really cool, really cool. And you don't even have to play it this turn. You can just play it on turn 2, right? Moonlit Guidance on 2. Let's pull out a Fungal Fortunes. Turn 3 Fungal Fortunes. Draw a few cards. Start getting the card draw going. This is going to be pretty powerful. Very cool. Very cool. And it doesn't have to be a spell, too. That's the other thing. You can draw Anaconda off of this, which is insane, right? Oh, my God. Yeah, there's some cool stuff you can do with this. The fact that it doesn't only work on spells, because Shadow Visions only worked on spells. That was an old priest spell. Pretty cool. Doggy Biscuit and Hunter. 2-mana spell. Tradable. Give a minion +2/+3. After you trade this, give a friendly minion rush. 2-mana 2/3 stats. Not bad, especially if you're playing a lot of 1-drops. You could just jam this to push extra damage face. And there's not a crazy amount of 2-drops currently runnable in the meta. So this could actually be slotted into something like a Face Hunter. It has tradable as well, so it's not an awful top deck. If you're just trying to top deck value stuff, you can just trade this back for a reroll. Also, after you trade this, giving a friendly minion rush is pretty nice as well. So there's a lot of stuff on this. This is probably going to be run. I imagine you might be able to slot this into Face Hunter, but this is just too good not to run in whatever Hunter is going to look like right now. Next up, Mage. Oh, hey, look, a 5-mana spell that we can run with that the big parrot we saw earlier. Arcane Overflow. 5-mana arcane spell. Deal 8 damage to an enemy minion. Summon a remnant with stats equal to the excess damage. So this is a piercing shot type effect, where instead of damage being applied to face, you summon a remnant with the excess damage, which is kind of cool. I imagine this also works with spell damage as well. It becomes like deal 9 or 10 or whatever to an enemy minion. I don't think you can run this in Quest Mage, though, because it's kind of slow. And again, I'm bringing this up a lot. Languagehacker, you keep saying it's too slow, it's too slow, it's too... The meta is really explosive. So if you're running slow cards, they have to have crazy impact. And this is a good card, but it's still kind of just slow. Its removal, which isn't necessarily great against Rogue and Demon Hunter, for example, or even Shaman if they're trying to kill you with the Doomhammer. So, good card, but still not enough. Yeah, if the meta slows down, this is going to be really good, though. Deepwater Evoker, 4-mana 3/4. Battlecry, draw a spell. Gain armor equal to its cost. Okay, so now we got a bit of a game plan going. Getting a bunch of armor can help outrange some of the Rogue breakpoints, Garrett Rogue, but you're still dying to 100 damage from Demon Hunter. So this, again, okay, more support, but I still don't think this is enough with this and the Parrot to warrant running this big package that we're talking about. Maybe there's some sort of hybrid quest big list you can run, but I imagine that's just going to be a little yucky to look at. Cool cards, potential, but too slow. Paladin, Wealth Redistributor, 5-mana 2/8 Pirate, Taunt. Battlecry, swap the attack of the highest and lowest attack minions. So you don't get to choose, but it's based off of what is currently available on the board, which is interesting because this has low attack. It's 2. So if you play this into, let's say, a Flesh Giant, this is now a 5-mana 8/8 with Taunt, and your Warlock opponent's Flesh Giant is a 2/8, which lines up quite nicely. This is really cool. Now, this can be played around, of course, because let's say your opponent has a Flesh Giant and a Tour Guide on the board. Well, suddenly, the Tour Guide and the Flesh Giant swap stats, or swap the attack, and they still have the power on the board. It's just redistributed a little weirder. So this is powerful. There's a lot of stats, but it's going to be interesting to play and play around from the opposing side as well. I'm not sure what kind of deck this fits in. This could be a control ace type thing, but it could also just be I don't know, some sort of tempo tool as well. It's kind of interesting, but powerful effect, good stats. Next up, Righteous Defense, 3-mana holy spell. Set a minion's attack and health to 1. Give the stats it lost to a minion in your hand. So this is Subdue for 1 more mana with a hand buff aspect to it, which is pretty cool, actually. This seems really good. Now, this is kind of single target removal, so if you're getting, smorked by Zoo or something, it's going to be less good, but we don't really see Zoo-y decks right now. So this could be okay, but it's, again, kind of meta-dependent. A lot of the decks right now, you don't really care about setting a specific minion's attack and health to 1 unless you're facing like Hand Warlock. Because you're facing Spell Mage, I don't know, Demon Hunter, Garrett Rogue. I keep coming back to those two because they're just so popular. This doesn't hit too much. So again, very powerful effect, but meta dependent. So we might not see this run just yet. Maybe though. Maybe we just slot this into some sort of hand buff and see. Because you can also use it on your own minion. But it'd be kind of weird because then you're just passing on the stats. Yeah, I don't know. This is a good card, but we'll have to see. Copycat. 3 mana, 3/4 Beast for Priest. Battlecry, add a copy of the next card your opponent plays to your hand. So going back to that tempo sort of Priest game plan, stats, good. Battlecry with a value-ish / maybe kind of disruption. It's not really disruption, but it makes your opponent play a bit differently. Aspect to it. Solid. This is pretty solid. There's not a crazy amount of 3s I think we were running in Shadow Priest, so yeah, this is just acceptable. Gives you more value. Your opponent has to play a little bit differently, which is a little weird, especially if you're curving out. They can't really, you know, afford to be too careful with what they're giving you because you probably have a board at this point and they're threatening damage. Cool card. I like it. Rogue, Parlay. 1 mana spell. Swap this for a card in your opponent's deck. So this is kind of interesting. This is more disruption in a class that doesn't need it because Rogue's just killing you with Garrett. So this is... And I don't think you get to choose which card this is. It's random. So really weird to evaluate, but I just don't think it's going to be good. Because there are combo-y type decks right now, but it's just so unlikely you hit exactly what you need, and you have to pay a card for it. It's just, I don't know, it's just really weird. And this, the weird thing about this is too, this goes into their deck, so then they can draw Parlay and then use it back on you, and so on and so forth. So it also dilutes their draw a little bit. I just don't think it's worth Rogue running the card for this disruption. If you really want to disrupt, it's probably better to run like Savior Deviant Delight. So this is a really cool card, but it's also just not very good. Shaman, Sucker Hook. 4 mana, 3/6 Pirate. At the end of your turn, transform your weapon into one that costs 1 more. I'm not going to show you the whole analysis, but I looked at the weapons. This isn't that good. Because for this to be good, you have to have a weapon. You want this on curve, obviously, on turn 4. So you have to have a weapon equipped on turn 2 or 3, which means if you're equipping a weapon on turn 3, Whack-a-Mole Hammer is the most likely one. You swing on turn 3, and then you have to hold the swing on turn 4, because if you swing on turn 4, you lose the weapon, and it doesn't get transformed. Or you can hold the swing on turn 3, and then swing on turn 4. It doesn't matter. The point is, you're wasting a charge there. You're delaying it. Then it evolves, and the same thing. You can swing once, you have to hold the second charge, assuming the Sucker Hook sticks. And there's some good 4 mana weapons, if we're talking about specifically Whack-a-Mole evolving into something else. It's just weird, because you lose tempo from the... Holding a swing is generally not very good in tempo matchups. So it's weird. It's a cool effect, because now we're switching the evolution type stuff from minions to weapons. It's not that good, I think, is the problem. It'll be fine if it happens to work out. Like if you tempo equip a Whack-a-Mole and there's nothing to hit, and then you go into this, it might be okay. But I don't see what we're running this in, because this doesn't really slot into Elemental Shaman. I don't see how this fits into Control Shaman. And even in Evolve Shaman, like the stat line for this is fine, but I don't think you care. Because in Evolve Shaman, you'd rather have the Bog Spine Knuckles anyways. So this is a really weird card that I can't quite figure out. I know for sure where it's going to be. It's going to show up in Pirate Warriors sometimes when they get summoned off the Juggernaut, which is kind of funny. Anyways, interesting card. I don't think it's going to be used. Next up, Warlock, Hullbreaker, Battlecry and Death Rattle. Draw a spell. Card draw. Your hero takes damage equal to its cost. Interesting. So the Battlecry you can control, which means on your turn, when you play this, it can progress the quest, for example, and it can change Flesh Giant mana cost. Death Rattle, your opponent can control. So that means that they can do it on their turn, which does not progress your quest. But still, this is draw 2 spells, which is pretty good. It has a body on top of it as well, which isn't bad either. Extra card draw is not bad. We'll have to see. And a lot of the spells you're running in Warlock are not that expensive, right? We're talking Raise Dead, Coil, Shadow Blast, Soul Rend's the most expensive one, even Backfire next after that. It's not a crazy amount of damage to take for drawing those cards, and you're running a ton of sustain already in the deck. So we might be able to slot this in for some extra card draw consistency. That being said, this doesn't really fit with a game plan of playing Flesh Giants and stuff, because you have to cut something for this. So what are you cutting? Because most of the cards in the deck are already synergistic with Flesh Giant. So I don't know. Actually, it's not even just Flesh Giant. There's just the deck is very, very tight already. So you have to change this a little bit. You could maybe cut Altar Fire for this because it has a similar effect where you draw towards the end of your deck faster. But the benefit of Altar Fire is that you can kind of dump it. It's cheap. You can dump it when your hand gets full. This is hard to dump because you'll start milling stuff. Effect is very powerful. Probably going to have to try it out and see how it fits into the deck, into Warlock. You could even maybe run this in some sort of tempo-style deck and just draw your specific spells like Raise Dead and whatnot. Kind of interesting. Cool card for sure. Probably see some play. Warrior, Blacksmithing Hammer, 4 mana 5/1 weapon with tradable. After you trade this, gain +2 durability. So generally, trading weapons seems kind of weird because you want to get the impact from the weapon immediately, but this only has 1 weapon swing, so it's kind of weird equipping it just for 1 swing. The important thing to note from this is that if you run it with a pirate quest, Raid the Docks, the first part of the quest being completed lets you draw a weapon. So tutoring this is nice because then you can trade it and then draw later, or you can just equip it if you want to. But importantly, if you draw this before the quest is complete, you can trade it back so that completing the quest draws it. This probably sees some play. I'm not sure if you run this like over Outrider's Axe, or if maybe you just get rid of Bulwark altogether and start running more aggressive type warrior because of all the tools that we're seeing. Well, all the tools. There's the 3/3 pirate, there's this, and there's some other stuff later on that you'll see as well. Card's not bad. It's hard for me to evaluate this, but I think it's solid. I think it is solid. Even something like Control Warrior, sometimes it's hard for Control Warrior to close out games, so this can help a little bit. Trade this early, and then late game you have a 4 mana 5/3 weapon, 4 mana deal 15 over some time. Solid. Next up, Neutral, Multicaster, 4 mana 3/4 pirate. Battlecry, draw a card for each different spell school you've cast this game. So this is really interesting. All classes, I think, have access to spell schools. That being said, not all classes have access to all spell schools. It's pretty limited into what you can access, but card draw is good. So this would have to be used in a deck that uses the different spell schools efficiently, and there's not that many decks that do that. Most decks are focused, or they do have some sort of split. I mean, the main one that comes to mind is Spell Mage. You might be able to slot one of these in Spell Mage, which could be kind of interesting, but I'm not sure where else you would put this in because the body is like so I don't want to spend a whole turn setting, doing this to draw cards when I'd rather be doing more impactful things. Most decks and classes have card draw that's more efficient than this. That being said, having extra cards is not bad, but it's hard to slot this in because, again, most decks don't run that many different spell schools. Spell Mage is the main one that runs the quest. We'll see if anything else pops up, though. Okay, almost done. 5 more cards. Let's go for the epic. Maddest Bomber. 8 mana 9/8, neutral. Battlecry, deal 12 damage, randomly split among all other characters. I mean, this card is poop, but it's cool. So this is a nice little addition to the Bomber arsenal. We have Mad Bomber, the 2 mana 3 that deals 3. We have Matter Bomber, which was, I think, GVG. 5 mana 5/4, deals 6 to random targets. And now we have Maddest Bomber. Not a good card. Dilutes the Scenario and Ward pool, notably. But otherwise, I struggle to see where you would run this. But yeah, I don't know. This is just kind of wacky. You could do some fun stuff with this, but it's not competitive. That's the only epic. Now the legendaries, which we were just shown today. Let's go through this one by one. Mr. Smite, your pirates have charge. This should not have been printed. 6 mana 6/5, and you get the effect. Mr. Smite himself gets the charge effect because he's a pirate as well, so the aura applies to him. So 6 mana 6/5 charge. If it sticks, it becomes really problematic. My bigger concern is, well, it's just a good card to run in Pirate Warrior. You might be able to slot this into Rogue if you find enough Pirates in Rogue, but I think the current Rogue archetypes are too solid to switch to anything else. I absolutely hate that this is going to pop off of Juggernaut, because this popping off of Juggernaut is almost always going to be like game over, because this immediately impacts the board. You'll be able to play any Pirates left over in your hand for charge as well. So this coming off of the... I know there's been a few Pirates we've seen already that are diluting the pool, but this is going to be an absolute nightmare to come off of Juggernaut, which is the Warrior Quest completion reward. So I really don't like... It's really cool, but I really don't think this should have been printed. I think this is very unhealthy. That being said, I played 0 games with it, so maybe it ends up being poop, but I strongly believe this will not be a poop card. Anyways. Yikes. Goliaths needs Masterpiece. 8 mana, 8/8 mech, and these are all... no, these two are neutral. Battlecry, fire 5 rockets at enemy minions, these can't go face, that deal 2 damage each, and you pick the targets. So you get, I guess, 5 selections to choose where the damage goes, and it's specifically enemy minions, not your minions either. Neutral as well, so this is really good spot removal. You get 10 damage in instances of 2 that you can choose by yourself. It's not random. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty slow. So again, if the meta slows down, great. But if it doesn't, this card is 8 mana, and we're never going to see it. And it's a Battlecry. So again, dilutes the Snare and Ward pool, but doesn't really do much. Next up, Edwin Defies Kingpin. 4 mana, 4/4, Rogue Legendary. Battlecry, draw a card. If you play it this turn, gain +2/+2, and repeat this effect. This is pretty cool. And this is probably a much healthier Edwin than the old Edwin. This doesn't really slot into Garrett Rogue. You might be able to play this in something like a Weapon Rogue. But the main use of this is in some sort of tempo game plan. Akin to, what was it, World Kick Rogue we saw last expansion, where you just play this and you do some stuff, and the stuff's good, and you gain some stats. And importantly, you can draw multiple cards off of this. So this into Prep, into Swindle, you can get a nice little chain going, which is kind of cool, but it's slow. And you're rarely going to get that on turn 4, whereas before you could plan out your turns with the old Edwin, where you go like Prep, blah, 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 and then Edwin. But this way, it's just you have to hope that the stuff that you draw works towards that. So it's a bit less, it's much less consistent, but pretty cool when it does. I think this is a very well-designed card. Compared to his little assistant over here. Anyways, Cookie the Cook. 3 mana, 2/3 Shaman Legendary. It's a Murloc. Cool. Lifesteal. Cool. Death Rattle. Equip a 2/3 Stirring Rod, which is a weapon, with Lifesteal. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, that's a lot of lifesteal. Where are we using this lifesteal? This is what's important, because there's a lot of stuff on this card, and that's good. 6 damage, there's a weapon. It has lifesteal, it's a Murloc. There's also lifesteal attached to the weapon as well. But where are we running this? We probably don't run this in Elemental Shaman. We probably don't run this in... I mean, what other Shamans are there, really? Quest or Control Shaman? You could run this in that, but this doesn't progress the quest, and Control Quest Shaman isn't really playable right now. If it does become playable, we could slot this in for some extra healing, because that is something that the deck could lack. It has 2 Canal Sloggers, or it used to. So having a bit of extra lifesteal is not bad. And then it gives you a sort of board control aspect as well with the weapon, and burst as well. Cool card. Not super nutty, but there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I think that's actually just solid. I don't know where we're going to run this, though. We'll have to tinker and see. Maybe Quest Shaman becomes playable with some of the other cards that are shown here, but I kind of doubt that. So, what do I think about the mini set? I don't think this is going to mix up the meta too much. I think Rogue and Garrett Rogue and Demon Hunter, like OTK Quest Demon Hunter, are still going to be the kings by far. Doomhammer Shaman, or Elemental Shaman, or whatever you want to call it, still going to be pretty popular. We might see some people test with Mage a little bit, and that's going to be Pirate Warrior is going to get much better. Smite is going to be pretty good. Mr. Smite's going to be pretty good, because you can just naturally run this. The 3-mana 3/3 Defies Cannoneer in Warriors are also going to be pretty good. The weapon, the tradable weapon, might be played in there as well. So there's not that many cards being added, but the effect from Mr. Smite gives you quite a bit of oomph. And again, the pirate pool is diluted from the Juggernaut, but getting this will be a huge high roll. And even just having Mr. Smite at some point in the game will be really nice for board control, because you can play this once your Juggernaut is up, and the pirate that spawns from the Juggernaut, if you play Smite on the same turn, will also have charge. So there's some dynamics there. So Pirate Warrior is definitely going to get better. We might see them leaning towards a more tempo, aggressive-oriented playstyle instead of the control-y type version we've been seeing. But otherwise, I don't think we're going to see much else. I don't think there's not much room for leeway, at least at the competitive level. I think maybe at lower ranks we'll be seeing maybe Control Shaman, maybe some sort of big spell mage. But otherwise, bunker down for another few weeks of or until the next expansion comes out. We'll be seeing Rogue, Warrior, Shaman, and Demon Hunter. That's my prediction. Hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Have fun with the launch, by the way. Let me know what kind of decks you guys are playing.